Kuf Chav Tes Amud Aleph will begin at Kuf Chav Ches Amud Beis, 3 lines from the bottom. Amar Yomi Shmuel Chaya, a woman is just giving birth, calls Masechet Pasuach. As long as the womb is open, Bein Amr Tzrichani, Bein Loy Amr Tzrichani, whether she says she needs a certain thing done for her on Shabbos, or whether she doesn't say it, Mechal Masechet Shabbos, you're still Mechal Shabbos. So there's our girsa is Bein Amr Tzrichani u Bein Loy Amr Tzrichani. Whether she says she needs it or whether she doesn't say she needs it. Rashi seems to be Goris is that whether she says she needs it or even if she says she doesn't need it. Even if she says she doesn't need it, Mechal Shabbos. So we'll see how this works through with the continuation of the Gemara. But this gear says whether she says she needs it or whether she says she doesn't need this particular thing done for her, we're Mechal Shabbos regardless. Nista Makever, but when the womb is closed, Bein Amra, whether she says Tzrichani or Bein Loy Amra Tzrichani, whether she says she needs it, or even if she doesn't say she needs it, Ein Mechal Alav Shabbos. We're not Mechal Shabbos for her. So whether she says it or whether she doesn't say she needs it, we're not Mechal Shabbos. Ravashi Masnahach, that's the way Ravashi learned the version. Zutra Masnahach, he had a different version, he learned as follows. Amar Yomi Shmuel Chaya, calls Masechet Pasuach, as long as the kever is Pasuach, Bein Amr Tzrichani, u Bein Amr Ein Tzrichani, whether she says she needs it or whether she says she doesn't need it. Then Mechal Masechet Shabbos. Nista Makever, Amra Tzrichani, but if it's Nista Makever, whether she says Tzrichani, if she says Tzrichani, Mechal Masechet Shabbos. Loy Amra Tzrichani, if she doesn't say she needs it, Ein Mechal Masechet Shabbos. Then we're not Mechal Shabbos. So the way his version is that when it's Kever is Pasuach, whether she says Tzrichani, or even if she says she doesn't need it. Now, according to the girsa that we have in the Gemara, so there's a chiddush over here that even if she says she does not need it, we're still Mechal Shabbos. According to what seems to be Rashi's girsa, there's no chilek between the two versions in that case, because he's geras even in the previous version, according to Ravashi, also even if she says she doesn't need it. But this version, Al Kolponim, is that the kever is Pasuach, whether she says she needs it or even if she says she does not need it, we're Mechal for the Shabbos for her. The Ramban, the Rashba brings down the Ramban who says that, however, if she says she doesn't need it and the doctor also says that she doesn't need it, then we're not Mechal Shabbos. So that's if the kever is Pasuach. Nista Makever, if it's closed, Amra Tzrichani Mechal Shabbos. If she says she needs a Mechal Shabbos, Loy Amra Tzrichani, Ein Mechal Shabbos. Then, only if she says she needs it, Mechal Shabbos, not if she doesn't say she needs it, but if she says she needs it, Mechal Shabbos. Amar Leravina Lamareva, Amar Amar, Zutra Masan Lakula, Ravashi Masan Lakula, Elchasa Kaman, do we go Lakula or Lachumra? What's the halacha? Amalei, halacha, Kamar Zutra. The halacha is like Mother Zutra. We're mechalim because sofing the fashas lahakil, sofing the fashas lahakil, and therefore we're mekel, and therefore we say that if it's nista makever, but if she says she needs it, mechalim as a Shabbos. The Rishonim speak out that, however, when we say Mechal Shabbos, it's only for things that are understood to be for the benefit of her. It's often the Fashas Lahakal, that it's things that are understood to be necessary and for her benefit, that it's really needed. But things that are not understood to be any real benefit to the Nefashos, that it doesn't really help an endangered person in any way, then there will not be Mechal for that. It's only things that are normally understood to be of necessity. When is the psichos kever Amar Abayim Mishal Shetei Shaval Mashber, when she's sitting on the birthing stool. Rav Huna Brei Rishu Amar Mishal Shadam Sheisus Yard, when the blood is dripping as a result of the labor, there is blood that's dripping. When she has no strength because of the labor pains and she has to be supported by her friends in order to walk. On Masay Psichos HaKever, and that's when it begins. What's the duration of Psichos HaKever? Amar Abaye, Shloisha Yomim, 3 days. Rava Amar Mishmeda, Rava Shiva, 7 days. Amar La Shloishim, some say 30 days. There's much discussion in the Rishonim and the Poskim from when exactly does it start. And this, when we say the duration of 3 and 7 and 30, is it a me'es la'es, is it 24-hour periods, or just to the end of the day? That's a discussion in the Poskim. Amrinardo Chaya, a woman is giving birth, Gimel, Zayin, Velamet. There's these intervals of 3, 7, and 30. Gimel bein amr tzriachani, bein amr lo tzriachani. Whether she says she needs it or even if she says she doesn't need it, machal l'Shabbos, machal l'Shabbos. Zayin amr tzriachani. For 7, when she says, if she says tzriachani, machal l'Shabbos. Amr lo tzriachani and machal l'Shabbos. But by 7, we don't say that. Lamed afilu amr tzriachani and machal l'Shabbos. But the Lamed, even if for 30 days, even if she says he doesn't need it, you're not machal l'Shabbos. They are more, but we do it through a nachri. Kiravula braid ravila damar kol sorchechwela nasim al yidei armoy b'Shabbos. Ukirav amnuna damar shein b'sakana amr l'nachri v'ois. There is, so they say that for achwela kol sorchim you can do al yidei nachri. So if it's in a sakana, you can't do it through a year, but you can do it through a nachri. So these are the days that you can do these types of things through a nachri. There's machlekes in the Poskim. When we say you do it al vayidei nachri, what are we talking about here exactly? Are we talking about a chayli she'in boi sakana? Meaning a chayli she'esh boi sakana, you can do it through a yid. A chayli she'ein boi sakana, you can't do it through a yid, but can be done through a nachri. Or what we're talking about over here is not a chayli she'ein boi sakana, that can't even be done through a nachri. What we're talking about is a chayli she'esh boi sakana. However, things that are not of a critical nature, things that are not sakonas tefashos, but it's a chayli she'esh boi sakana. So that's a discussion in the Poskim. Amar Yomi Shmuel Achaya Shloishim Yom. He said, Achaya, there is a din, it's 30 days. What is said in regarding? Now it can't be, as the Rashba explains, it can't be like what we were discussing before, because then it would have said Gimel Zayin and Shloishim. Here it only says Shloishim, so this must be talking about something different from what we were discussing previously. So Amrin Hardo Letzvila. That is for as far as that she should not immerse herself in cold water. So she should not be toivel in cold water because the cold is considered to be a sakana up until 30 days. Amar that's only if her husband's not there to warm her. But if her husband is there and she can have be with her husband, relations with her husband, that's not a concern because he'll warm her. She was table herself, her husband, Rava, her husband was Rava, and he was not there. It's Tanias, and she became cold. They brought her bed to her to Pumbedisa for Rava to warm her. She can make a fire, a bonfire for a woman on Shabbos. Since the cold is a sakana, you can make a fire for her. There's a machlekes in the Poskim. Is we discussing a case of within 30 days, even within 30 days, or only within 3 or 7 days. So Savramino they thought the same way. So Chai is only for a Chai, not for a Chayla, and Mimaisik Shamim only in the winter when it's cold. But Mimaisik Shamim, Mimaisik Chamaloi, but Veloi. But no, that's not correct. There's no difference between a chai and a chayla. Loishna b'meisek sham, loishna b'meisek chama. Merit mar amar Rav Chia bar Rav amar Shmuel. Hekiz adam v'nistan, and if a person let bloodletting, and he got chilled. Oisen lemedura afila b'tkufas tamas. You can make a bonfire for Raman Shamas even in the heat of the summer in tkufas tamas when it's the hottest. Shmuel, so we're talking about making a fire after bloodletting because otherwise it's a sakana. Shmuel said that he let blood, and they chopped up a chair made out of this expensive wood, shraga wood. They chopped up this chair for him because it was considered a sakana, and apparently they didn't have anything else available. So they were even to the extent where they chopped up this very expensive chair. Rav Yehuda for Rav Yehuda chopped up a table made out of this expensive wood of Yavna wood. They chopped up a stool. How could you chop up this stool? It's bal tashchis, you're ruining the stool. The priority is the bal tashchis of the goof. It's a sakana without doing it. So therefore, that overrides the bal tashchis of the stool. One should even sell the beams of the house if he need be in order to buy shoes. It's very important to have shoes on one's feet. It's a bizoyin for a person to have to go barefoot. However, if he was hiki's dam and he let blood and he doesn't have what to eat, even though shoes are so important, nevertheless, but it's more of a priority to warm himself up because it's considered such a sakana, and he should even, if he has to, if there's no alternative, even sell the shoes. What do we mean when we say tzarchei suda? What is the requirement for that? Rav Amar Bas said meat. Shmuel Amar yain, he said wine. Rav Amar Bas, why do you say meat? Nafshe chalav nafshe. He should eat the nefesh, the meat, to restore his nefesh, the bloodletting. The blood is a nefesh. Blood was drawn from him to restore his nefesh. He should eat nefesh. Shmuel says wine, the red in place of the red. He had red blood was withdrawn from him. He should replace it with red wine. Simen shenimker. Shmuel b'yom Dovid milsa, when he bled blood of the leitachel l'tach, they made a tashel made out of spleen. Rav Yochanan shalsa adenafek tia meune. Rav Yochanan, after bloodletting, he would drink so much wine until the aroma of it, the scent of it, came from his ears. Rav Nachman shalsa adenafek chali, and Rav Nachman drinks so much wine until his spleen was floating in wine. Rav Yosef shall say, he would drink so much wine that after the bloodletting, the blood would come out from the wound that was made, that when they bled the blood, from his vein, the wine would be coming out, dripping out. Rav Mahad Rachama bar Klosatata. He would go and look for wine that would literally means that wine of 3 leaves. The way Rashi explained it is a 3-year-old vine. Amrlu Rav Nachman bar Yisrael Rabbanu b'tusmi naichu b'yom da'koza. When you let blood, the day that you do your bloodletting, please imru leveisaychu Nachman ichol gabon. Tell your wives that I'm coming to your house. I'm going to be a guest. So therefore, presumably, their wives, the covet Rav Nachman, would make a big suda, and therefore they would have a proper meal to eat after the bloodletting. All tricking thing, deception is also bar meha armod deshari, except for this, which is mutter, because the sakana of not eating after the bloodletting. So we're discussing a deception. The Gemara says the kula rume asiri. All types of deception are asur bar mehai armod deshari, except the following, which is mutter, which is similar to the one we just discussed. Man Dovid milsa v'lo yashale, one who let blood and he is not able, can't afford to buy wine. Lishkol zuzimak. He should take a worn-out zuz that is only accepted in b'diyevet with difficulty. In many places, not accepted. It is accepted only b'doichet. And the lezel l'shev chanvasi should go to 7 wine shops at the time shiravisa. So they allow them to take a sample to taste wine from the different shops before buying. So you should go to 7 and take 7 samples, So in the meantime, he'll have the shear of wine, and he'll have the wine that he needs until the time shir reviasa, until he has a shear of revias. Now, if they would want payment, he could pay with this worn-out zuz. It's not generally accepted, but b'doichik it is. And in that way, using this type of aroma, he could have the revias of wine that he needs. If he doesn't have a worn-out coin, lechal shem tamra ukmasa, he should eat 7 black dates, belisha mishcha betzida, and rub oil onto the sides of his head, onto his temples, and nigna b'shimsha, and sleep in the sun. Avlad ashkel Shmuel deganav shimsha. Avlad found Shmuel sleeping in the sun. Omrelei chakima deyudo bishim mehavatava. He said, the wise one from the Yidden, something bad it's going to become good. It's meaning it's not healthy to sleep in the sun, or to stay in the sun. Omrelei yemad akazu. He said it was a day for bloodletting, and therefore the sun is good for him. But that's not really the case. That wasn't the case. Shmuel did not have a kozas adam that day. There's one day of the year where the sun is beneficial, and the day where the tkufa of Tammuz falls out, the summer tkufa. But Shmuel didn't want to reveal to him, to be magal to him that day. He wanted to withhold it from him, so therefore he made up this excuse that he had a kozas adam. Hekel v'ruach taima sho'asimen. Rav Shmuel Damri Tarvayo Kol Hamekel L'Sudas HaKosas Adam. If someone is not careful with the suda that he should eat after HaKosas Adam, then Minashamayim, they're also Mekel. They don't provide with him for the mezainas, for his sustenance that he needs. They say he is not concerned about his life. He doesn't eat the Suda after HaKosas Adam, so why should we be concerned about him? If he's not careful with himself, with his eating and mezainas to eat when he should eat, why should he be provided that? Minashamayim. Rav Shmuel Damar Tavayu Haiman Dovid Milsa, who has HaKosas Adam, Loi Leisiv Hecha the Borach Zika. He should not sit in a place where it's the wind is swirling about. Loi Leisiv Hecha the Korach Zika. You should not sit in a place where it's very windy. Dilma Shafilei Umna, because maybe the bloodletter drained out too much blood from him. All that he has left is the minimum amount of blood that he needs to survive, and which is a revius. If the wind comes and it'll draw it out, and he won't have the minimum amount of blood that he needs, it'll become to a sakana. Shmuel used to do the bloodletting to ensure that there would be no draft, no wind, for the reason that we just mentioned. He would do it in a house that had very thick walls, that had 7 livneis of arich. A levena is 3 tefachim, so the thickness of the walls were 3 times 7, 21, plus an ariach, which is half of that thickness. Half of a levena, which is 1.5 tefachim. So the thickness of the walls were 22.5 tefachim. They were that thick. One day he was making his dam, and he was in the house, and he felt weak. And they checked the thickness of the walls, and it happened to be that it was missing this ariach, this 1.5 tefachim of thickness. That's how sensitive he was to any wind, any draft, that even that it was 21 tefachim thick, that was missing that 1.5, and he felt it. Rav Shmuel Damar Tavaya Haiman Dovid Milsa, if he lets blood litam midi of haralefik, he should first eat and then go outside. Diloi toyim midi, because if he doesn't eat first, ipaga b'shach v'yarg. If he comes across with a mess, with a corpse, then it'll turn green. V'ipaga b'manda kapul nafsha, and if he comes across somebody who killed somebody, he'll die. And ipaga b'davar acher, and if he comes into contact with a chazer, kalshe l'davar acher, then it's harmful for tzaras. He's susceptible for tzaras.